Hey friends, welcome back to another children's sermon. My name is Becca. For those of you who are new here, welcome. And for those of you who are coming back, it is good to be with you again. So today is the 7th Sunday of Epiphany. Any 7-year-olds out there? I'm not 7. I do love the number 7. Anybody love the number 7? Anybody count to 7? Anybody have 7 stuffed animals? Or 7 favorite toys? 7 is a good number. So it's the 7th Sunday of Epiphany. And as a reminder, Epiphany is the season of light and where we learn and grow in our faith. And today we're going to learn about forgiveness. How many of you know what forgiveness is? Anybody have to practice forgiveness a lot? Is it really hard sometimes to forgive someone? I think so too, especially when they really hurt us. But we should forgive those around us because that is what Jesus does for us. And that is a way we can show God's love. So today's story is about forgiveness. I'm going to read something from the book of Genesis. Genesis is in what testament? The Old Testament, that's right. It is the very, very, very first book of the Bible. Can you tell me some of the stories that happen in Genesis? Okay, I'm going to tell you. So Adam and Eve are in the first book of the Bible. That's right. God's creation stories in the first book of the Bible. Noah. Do you remember what Noah did? Noah built an ark, this huge, huge, huge boat. And he invited 2 of every animal onto the boat. That's right. Jacob and Esau, that is a hard name to say, Esau. So it starts with an E. They're twins, and they didn't always get along. Do you have a sibling that you don't always get along with? I definitely have a sibling, 2 siblings that I don't always get along with. That's right. What about Abraham and Sarah? Do you remember their story? Yeah, they were over 100 years old when they had their first baby. That is a miracle. And then Sarah laughed and they celebrated. That's right. And then there was this guy, Joseph. And Joseph is in our story today. Joseph was a dreamer and he was a really important guy in the government. And he taught about forgiveness with a story about his brothers. So that's what we're going to read about today. We're going to read about Joseph and his brothers. So our story comes from Genesis 45. So you have to flip through, and it is 3 through 11, and then verses 15. So 45, verses 3 through 11, and then 15. But the whole story is really good. So if you read those verses in between 11 and 15, I suggest it. It's pretty good. Pharaoh made Joseph a governor of Egypt and put him in charge of preparing for famine. Joseph knew they needed to store food for 7 years. Now Egypt was prepared for when no crops would grow. Joseph's brothers in Canaan were starving. Their stomachs grumbled, no food anywhere. They traveled to Egypt to buy grain. Step, step, step. Joseph stood in front of his brothers. They bowed low to Joseph, the man in power. His own brothers didn't recognize him. Don't you know me? Asked Joseph. No, we don't, they said. They wondered why the governor would ask them this question. I'm Joseph, your brother. You sold me, Joseph shouted. Uh-oh, thought Joseph's brother. We're in big trouble. They turned to leave right away. And Otto says, Joseph's brothers are in big trouble, all right. I bet Joseph gets even with them now. And Ava says, yeah, they were so mean to Joseph. There's no way he could forgive them, right? Wait, called Joseph. Don't be afraid. The brothers stopped. You sold me, but God brought me to Egypt. God is in charge. Joseph's brothers couldn't believe what Joseph said. "Why would God do that?" Levi asked. "Don't you see?" exclaimed Joseph. "God sent me to prepare for the famine." The brothers looked at each other. "Do you think it's true? Do you think he might forgive us?" they whispered. Joseph stood closer to his brothers. Then he gave his brother Benjamin a big hug. "Look," said the other brothers, "Joseph's not mad. God had a plan." All of the brothers hugged Joseph. God's good plan meant that there would be plenty of food for Joseph's family. Otto said, "Well, that's a surprise. Joseph did forgive them." I guess God can turn really bad things into really good things. Wow. I love the story of Joseph because I think Joseph is so kind and so forgiving in this story. Can you imagine being Joseph and all of your brothers? Joseph had 11 brothers. All of your brothers not liking you and then selling you. Yeah. I don't think I'd ever sell my siblings. They get on my nerves sometimes, but I don't think I'd ever sell them. But they didn't like that their father favored Joseph. So there's 12 of them, and Joseph was favored by Jacob. Remember we talked about Jacob having a twin brother named Esau? That same Jacob. And so they sold him. And so Joseph is now in the position where he can give them food. He can help them when they're hungry. And what would you have done? Do you think you would have helped them, or do you think you would have been too mad? Yeah, Joseph helped them. He helped them, and he said, "I forgive you." And because he forgave them and God's goodness, he protected them. He saved their family, right? He wanted to preserve their life. So he gave them food. 7 years with nothing. Could you imagine 7 years with no food? I don't even know what I would eat. Grass, maybe? I would eat anything if there were no food. And so they come and Joseph gives them food. So think about the brothers. They felt like they were going to be in big trouble. Can you think of a time that you thought you were going to be in big trouble? Yeah, isn't that? And then were you actually in big trouble? Yeah, sometimes big trouble means that we're going to be forgiven. Sometimes big trouble means that we have to learn more. And so in this story, they were not in big trouble. They experienced God's forgiveness. That's right. And so Joseph's story teaches us about forgiveness and something else. Can you think of maybe something else that Joseph's story is teaching you? Well, I'm thinking of the word reconciliation, which means getting back together or working things out. Do you think that the brothers worked things out? Yeah, they did. So what are some things that we experience reconciliation with? I think about getting back together. I think about when you're playing dodgeball and you get out and then the game is over and then it starts over and you get to join in and play again. The team is reconciled and you get to start over, right? Because it's a new game. Yeah, reconciliation, being brought back together. It's a big word, but it has such a cool meaning, and being forgiven. And so we get to experience reconciliation because Joseph forgives his brothers and then they're all reconciled again. Do you think that they're probably closer now? They probably talk more, or maybe they see each other regularly. That's right. Can you think about some times that you experienced reconciliation? Yeah. Can you think about a world that we live in that we wouldn't have reconciliation? What that would be like? Yeah, it would be so hard. It would be kind of sad. I'm sad when I mess up and I've apologized. And what if my friend never said, "It's okay, we can try again." Or I mess up at school and I never get to try again. It would be so hard. We wouldn't learn very much, would we? Yeah. So I'm so thankful we have forgiveness and reconciliation with our friends, with our family, with our siblings, and when we're learning and getting to try new things. So during the season of Epiphany, we are learning about the season of light. So we are going to do something new today. So what I want you to do is I want you to go and find some water. I put mine in a cup. You don't need this much water, but it would be too hard to get my finger deep down in there. So you just need a little bit of water. So go pause me and go find some water. Did you get some water? Welcome back. I'm so glad that you did. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to dip our fingers in the water, and then we're going to make a sign of the cross on our foreheads. And we're doing this because we are reminding ourselves that each week we are learning more about Jesus. And where are some other places that we put the sign of the cross in water on our foreheads? In baptism, or maybe you do it during church. You go and you run and you put water on your forehead. There are other places we remember that we are children of God and that we are learning about Jesus. And we can do that and remember that when we wash our hands or take a bath or brush our teeth. Anytime we use water, we can remember that we are children of God and we are learning more about Jesus. So friends, that's our story this week. So as you go into the week, I want to hear stories of where you practiced forgiveness or saw reconciliation. Reconciliation means being brought back together and being forgiven. So I can't wait to hear your stories, and I can't wait to hear about how you are going to show God's love and learn about Jesus this week. If you'd like to read our story in any Bible you want, it comes from Genesis 45, verses 3 through 11 and 15. All right, friends, that's our story. Till next time. See ya.